right, we'll get started in about 5 minutes. So you're welcome to get a beverage and a slice or two of pizza. You can also get that after you present. Or anytime. We're not, hi Ben.
Hi, elaborately.
Oh great, that's wonderful. And unfortunately we have some people who are in the lineup that aren't able to present due to illness. So it's going to be probably a little shorter than scheduled, just maybe all to the best given the gale force conditions that we're dealing with outside. So I will get us started at the beginning. I will just sort of introduce a bit about Museums 409, the internship. For those of you that have dabbled in other things other than the internship that you're presenting formally, please, maybe at the end, just comment a little bit about some of the other explorations you've had. And for those of you who aren't presenting but maybe have questions or want to share something, this is a great venue to talk about what you're doing. And hopefully a couple more people will come, and if not, there's lots of pizza. Right? So you can, if you're collapsing in exhaustion, great, but if you just want to move around, that's also too. I was saying to Colin, the beginning of the semester always is busy because you're meeting new students, and I think we all collectively oh, it's just the beginning, that's why I'm behind on this, or I didn't get back to that. But then once it's March, you can't really, that doesn't fly very well. Wonderful.
You always want a good
I
picture.
could have taken a. Oh, I wasn't there.
And you always want a good picture to be like presented.
Thank you, I appreciate that. My presentation will be very, very boring, but I still like
Answers that don't really.
people who are seeing the picture wouldn't know, so
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it.
Good weekend?
Yeah, it was good. It was so busy.
Other than yesterday, yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, took my
I
hair
did
down.
not. Yeah.
Just.
I was at the scientist spotlight yesterday, so I didn't
Oh,
watch
you were
much
working
of
at
the
the
game.
spotlight.
Yeah.
Oh, how was it?
It was great. It was probably the busiest. Yeah, it was crazy.
All right, it's 1 o'clock. We'll wait 2 more minutes just in case there are a couple stragglers, and then we'll jump right in to our winter colloquium. So feel free to grab a pizza or a beverage, and we don't want a lot of leftovers. So if you're hungry now, eat now. It'd be great.
I'm excited this time because I don't have anything after this. I watched all of them this time.
Oh my god! I was like, wait, because I thought it was a joke at first. I was like, no way, they're gonna tell us like how to make those. Like, we know, right? And the way he's like Canada, I was like, yeah, I'm like, I think most of this is common sense, but like, I guess maybe not. I don't know. It's an interesting course. I don't really know what we are. It's nice we have a paper. I prefer that. I was like, I was kind of what's for it. I free write. This is really bad. I was like, I would literally free writing. Like, I don't think that makes sense.
Few
but-
words of nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what does this have to do with American Family? It's about Julia Child's time in France. So like, she wasn't like gives you.
Well, like, the thing is, that's fine. Stuff is like so long. Like, you can't actually give like a good like presentation or paper in
No.
a minute. It's like every 40 minutes. Really like what's about the book now. Like, it's
I
a
also
slow start.
I'm like thinking about, I'm like, do I just read like the middle? Because all I know so far is like really nice introductory stuff. She
Yeah.
hasn't experienced any hardship. I'm like, it's really cute though.
The amount I just
Right.
made, and this did not wash off.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Go to a presentation of her papers. We just sent it to them. I'm pretty sure that's it. So. Oh my god, seriously? That's awesome.
Well, I didn't see anything like
Like
about it
scheduled?
of like
Exactly.
when it would be.
Fingers crossed. I know. I was like, also because God, like, what we're spending our final like 4-ish weeks doing. We'll see. Didn't she mentioned it? I can't even remember what she said. I'm sure it'll be like we're doing some work.
Yeah, did you?
So I think
She already told you.
she'll be the day after.
All right, let's get started. Good afternoon. I know all of your faces, which is a lovely feeling. And I'd also like to welcome Bella's uncle, Ruth Backler, who's joining us
Hello.
from Natural History Museum, correct?
Yes. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So museum studies all around. And we may have some stragglers coming in, but we'll just forge ahead. This is the winter edition, winter 2026 edition of our Museum Studies Minor Colloquium. And this is an opportunity for students, selected students, to present some of their insights on internships and sometimes research projects that they've undertaken under the auspices of the Museum Studies program. So here you can see our lineup. Each student will share sort of a lightning talk, just a few highlights, a few things to think about from their experience, and we'll get a sense for the institution, where they were placed, and maybe some of the things they were up to while they were there. Before we launch into that, I just want to say a few things about the Museum Studies minor, and most of you know this very well, but we do have a newer student who's just declared. So I'm Deirdre Hennebury. I'm the Associate Director of the program, which has a graduate and undergraduate component, and I do run the undergraduate minor. Here's our webpage. So those of you graduating this year, make sure you sign up to come to graduation. You'll be getting an email from me too also about the Arts Honor Cord, which is something that you can, as a Museum Studies student, you can wear with your graduation regalia. couple things to point out here. We still have a number of upcoming events this term. In particular, next Monday, so a week from today, we have a Museums at Noon presentation in this same room. This is a really interesting project. 3 graduate students from the History of Art department were in Taipei. They went to the Palace Museum there. They are celebrating an anniversary at the Palace Museum and have on display artifacts and materials that have never been seen publicly before. And so these art history doctoral students will be talking about what they saw and what they discovered. And then you'll see there on March 31st, Lonnie Bunch, who is the secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, is on campus. Museum Studies is co-sponsoring that event. He will be speaking at the Rackham Auditorium. So please plan to attend that as well. It's a really special opportunity to have a museum leader such as Lonnie Bunch here on campus. A quick note about electives, and Michael already asked me if the elective list was out for summer and fall. Not yet, but I'm working on that actively. And so on that elective page, you'll find those PDFs that you can download for your elective choices. Many of you are done with this, some are just starting, but shortly you will see the updated PDFs for the upcoming terms. Now, something that I want to invite you all to consider, and maybe I'll send some pointed invitation emails. We do have a blog, and this is for our graduate and undergraduate program. And here's some of the blog posts that are currently up.
Oh, interesting.
We do have primarily graduate students represented, and my question is why? Hey, I want more undergraduates. So Ben Davis, he wrote a blog a while ago. Christiana wrote a blog a while ago, and I would love to see some more undergraduate work and ideas represented here. So if you have a project you've done in an internship that you think would be interesting to feature, if you would like to write a review of an exhibition, a travel log, it doesn't really matter. So check this out and get a sort of sense of the flavor, and let me know if you think you might have an idea percolating, and I'd love to chat with you. We do have a blog editor. We do have a blog editor that will work with you as well, so you are not just flying solo. And so this is the sort of outline of the undergraduate Museum Studies minor. And what I want to highlight here is this class, Museums 409. So most of the student presentations that we'll be looking and hearing about today come out of this class. It was the first program at the University of Michigan to require an internship. There are now a few others because this has been seen as a very beneficial opportunity for students to enliven the sort of work experiential learning part of their CV as well as the academic side. So perhaps without further ado, we're going to jump in this lineup. Hamira, Brendan, Bella, Sarah, and then Ben. And they'll be sharing with us some lightning talks about their internships. So Hamira, I invite you to come forward. There is a pointer.
Just use the computer to.
Yeah, welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Hamira, and this is my internship experience. I just want to apologize, there's not a lot of pictures, so that might be the boring part.
A little louder, just
Okay.
because there's a lot of like heating noise.
Okay. Is this
Sorry.
good enough?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So my internship experiences were in between Learning Support Services and Bradner Library, which is under Schoolcraft College. But although like I worked mostly with the Bradner Library, I was already employed by the Learning Support Services, and Bradner Library falls under it, and Learning Support Services kind of cover academic coaching, language learning, student support, and a wide variety of things. This is Bradner Library, it's in Livonia. And so some of the responsibilities, and I kind of wanted to highlight that because I was already employed by Learning Support Services, which is also known as LSS. So during my internship, when I spoke to the director, she kind of like created like some scope to for me to have like museum study related experiences. But because I was already employed, I was kind of like working in between like different departments. So I was primarily working with managing the rare book project, which I'll explain in a minute, but that falls under Bradner Library, so I was working with the lead librarian over there. But then she came up with this project for student art exhibition that falls under Learning Support Services, so I was working with the director. And then helping in the front desk, it's mostly working with student, checking in and out books, if they have questions about references. And then social media, I was working with another employee at LSS, and it falls like kind of all the learning aspect of Schoolcraft College, including Learning Center, where students are peer mentoring other students. And then helping Michigan Reconnect students, which is how I got the job. That I started a fellowship in Schoolcraft College. I was a Michigan Reconnect student. And Michigan Reconnect is for non-traditional students who are coming back to their academics to kind of help support how to juggle like multiple responsibilities that they have and still like thrive in academics. And other works as assigned. So I'll be mostly talking about Rare Book Project, but I just want to quickly talk about Student Art Exhibition and Help Desk. Help Desk is very self-explanatory. They always need help like on the desk, so I just like performed whenever there was help needed, and I was just like at the desk like helping students with the books that they wanted. The Student Art Exhibition is something the director, we have a corridor that's like completely empty, so the director was envisioning that we can make installments or at least have like some shelves on the corridor where students who are making arts, especially two-dimensional, they can exhibit their art every semester, and that would be a way for students to kind of build their portfolio and gain experiences in event management and talking to people about their art. So this is something I worked with the director. And the Rare Book Project is kind of interesting. So we had a donor whose name is, I believe, John Reed. And he donated a lot of books to Schoolcraft College Bradner Library, to the president, and then he donated all those. But we do not have like any provenance, we do not have any understanding of what John Reed was interested in. You could tell like from the collection that he was interested in American poetry and civil rights books, stuff like that. So when that came in, we kind of wanted to call it the John Reed Collection, and how it went about the Rare Book Collection is because Schoolcraft, the Bradner Library weeds book almost like simultaneously every day, and the process the books are being weeded, which is taken out from the collection, is very interesting. If a student has not been checked out a book for 5 years, then the books get weeded. So a lot of like interesting book can get weeded if a student don't check it out. But then student comes to the library for mostly academic books. So the library might have collection that is very interesting, but could get weeded. So that's when the lead librarian thought that maybe I need to walk around the collection and see what books are worth keeping. He found a book by H.G. Wells that was also signed by H.G. Wells. So he definitely found interesting book. There were books where letters were written from one author to another author. So there were definitely a lot of interesting books. I just wanted to quickly just showcase like some of the social media things that I did. It's pretty self-explanatory just to keep the social media going forward. But this is the director, Elizabeth Kenny, who kind of like when I told her that I wanted to work on museum studies internship, kind of created the space like with Rare Book Project and Student Art Exhibition for me to kind of like manage these two alongside with others. And I kind of wanted to show the space where I work with the Rare Book Project. So first it started with about 300 books, and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And initially where we had our book storage, that room is a little bit more better at temperature control than when we started having a bigger collection. All the books were moved to just a simple office room that was closed for a long, long time. And because these books are old, the room started smelling so musty, and it was smelling musty to me, and I lost part of my smelling abilities due to COVID, and it was still unbearably musty. So we had some issues about it, and then this is where we're kind of like working like with all the books, kind of trying to categorize and see like what we can do about it. This is the lead librarian, Mr. Wayne. Absolutely admire this guy, but one thing that I always had conflict with Mr. Wayne about how he was recognizing which book goes in the Rare Book collection was going online on bookfinder.com and seeing what books are really valuable, so $200 and up. And so we had a lot of conversation of how we can rethink about the values of these older books, and there might be other values. And because he was making the decision, also the collection was becoming more of his interest area. So for example, I come from a photography background, and apparently we have a lot of book that is historical photography books, so I kind of advocated for that as well to be considered in the collection. So some of the advantages, I had a lot of remote working privileges. I could come and go as I please, and I had flexible working hours and a good paid position. There were opportunities for open conversation about my point of view and what I'm bringing from museum studies class. And there was also opportunities for making mistakes. I remember that there was this one book where I could tell, like, by putting the front cover, the first two pages were kind of glued together, and then what the older librarian did, that the library sign-in page, they just like glued it really on top of the first page, even though there were addresses and notes. So I kind of put it against the light, and I saw that there were something written that could tell me about the provenance of the book. So I tried to remove the glue and kind of ripped a page off an artifact. But I did not get into trouble for that. The disadvantages, I don't know if I wrote it over here, but one of the first disadvantages were that there were no structure. We actually did not know what we are trying to achieve with the Rare Book Project or the Student Art Exhibition. It was all trial and error, and hey, we have this idea, or we have this collection, let's do something with it, but no clear guidelines. There was a lot of lack of funding. So for the Student Art Exhibition, we wrote a grant, and it was always in negotiations with Schoolcraft College in general, like where, if they're putting funding in LSS, they had their own priority where they wanted to put their funding, and these were new projects, and we don't know like how that may help students, so they were hesitant to put their funding over there. And when I say lack of enthusiasm from staff, I don't say it like in a bad way. Every staff has already a designated area that they were working in, and those are very time pressing. So, for example, one staff works in early action, so his job is to really identify students who are not doing well and have a conversation to try to help in their academic future. So everybody is working full time and they do not have a lot of time. So even though I was supposed to be directed by staff about what to do, I had to make a lot of administrative decisions all by myself because staff was busy. And doing that, I felt like I was doing work that is probably not going to go anywhere. And I did not receive any mentorship from an expert from a museum studies perspective. I think I still learned a lot about like working in a workplace, but I don't think like how to read a collection. We had an archivist who was the most, I think, helpful, but he was also faculty, so like I had just 2 seatings with him. And then bonus disadvantage is that limited interactions with student. I really like talking to student. So the learning experience, I was able to help with the grant writing for student art exhibition. Apparently, I'm the only one from an art background over there. So I'm gonna rush up. So I was able to like kind of add how like student art exhibition could benefit like education. And for the rare book project, I did like mostly research, and for the student art exhibition, more like material research, what we need for installation, and then how to manage those collection, and then design like for social media and rare book project. Things I was able to influence within the department was that, first, I really want to talk about the mission statement because the lead librarian didn't want to write a mission statement for the rare book project, but I was able to like have a conversation with the director, and we did end up writing a mission statement. And then everything kind of like I think I touched on as I went on. And this is digital renderation, but I was able to like create a booklet as an ending product, and that this is really inspired by the collection that we had. And the way I approached it, I thought that what would student want to know about these books? And to me, it felt like after talking to a few students, would be fun facts about either the author or the books itself. So apparently, T.S. Eliot, for his Old Possum's books of practical cats, he was a possum. And I did not know that, so I thought like that was like really interesting. So the booklet is about these little information that are fun. That's it. Thank you very much.
Do you have copies of that little book?
I do not, but I can bring it and
That's wonderful.
give it to you.
Love that. Thank you, Humaira.
Thank you.
Is there a quick question for Humaira before we move on? We usually go kind of quickly. If you have a question, we can also save it. So, anything quick right now? All right. Oh, yes.
Just really quick, so about the office space, so because you said that kind of the scent of like mildew and other stuff had kind of become oppressive. Was there any real like big concern that the mildew kind of would stack upon itself and like damage the books more at that point in time?
Actually, that's a wonderful question, and yes, and after we kind of selected our collection, which is about 500 books now, we decided that, oh my gosh, why these books are in back room if they were already in the collection, like circulating. So we actually, unless a book is absolutely fragile, we put it back in the circulation, but it worked in the benefit of the Bragner Library that now it's under rare book collection, so it's not gonna get weeded. So that's how like the books are protected, but students are back in using them.
Brenda. There's a pointer and you can just advance on the keyboard.
I'm gonna pull up some notes. This is my internship. It was at the Research Museum Center off campus out on off of Ellsworth Road, kind of by the airport. It's way far away, but it's an interesting place. Advance with these. So I'm gonna go over the process from start to finish because I worked pretty hands-on with the collections. I basically prepared birds and then submitted them for curation into the collection. So it begins, we got a bunch of birds from this organization called Cleveland Lights Out. They essentially advocate for buildings to turn their lights off during peak migration because these birds slam into skyscrapers like crazy. Not even skyscrapers, any building. So we get just a bird that has died, and they give us all this information. And one of the first challenges that I had was, let's see if they did it on this one. The building name is right here, and they often don't put an address. They either put an acronym, like Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, is a building I'm going to talk about here in a second, and they would often put RMFH. So, like, if you're not from Cleveland, like, I don't know, like, I spend 5 minutes on Google figuring it out. And so it's like this non-standard way of communication that you have to, like, form a standardization out of, which is somewhat difficult in my opinion. Sorry, I'm going to pull up my presenter notes really fast just so I remember what I'm trying to say. My handwriting has gotten a lot better because I have to write these books and tags. I wrote that tag right there. My handwriting's still not great, but it's readable now. And another challenge I faced during this whole process was sometimes people would write tags upside down, and so I'd have to rewrite the entire tag, which doesn't like sound like a lot, but it takes like 5 minutes to write a tag. So if somebody did like 5 to 10 birds wrong, like that's an hour. You gotta sit there like rewriting all their tags. So we skin the bird and turn them into a little skeleton like this, and we give them to a bug colony. They're little beetles. I guess it was a process developed in the late 1800s at Kansas to essentially clean off biological specimens of leftover flesh. And then we cut one of their wings off and pin it like this into a spread wing. We're apparently one of the only bird museums that does that. It's not very common, and kind of funny, when I asked my advisor, like, why are we the only bird museum who does this while I'm, like, working on all these spread wings? He was like, well, I have to pay you to do this, and, like, that's a lot of work, which it was a lot of work. This is the most important step. This is the prep book. It's got all of the scientific information, and if you don't have that information, turning a skeleton, like, skeletonizing a bird is essentially worthless if we don't have any of that information. So there's address, qualitative stuff, quantitative stuff, a whole bunch of things that all gets written on the tag. And then, if you can see, one of my steps that took forever was osteoscribing. So I had to write all of these, it's the catalog number of the specific specimen, and I had to write, this is a wild turkey, so it had big enough bones that I did it on like every freaking bone for this bird, like the toes, the wings, every vertebrae. That one took me about an hour. The songbirds, I just did like a bird here, you just like skull, chest, and like back maybe, and maybe some of the long bones like legs and wings, but it takes a while, and it's really difficult to sit there with a songbird trying to write on it with a pen. This is the second step of the process. One thing that I also found difficult was I'm a history major, and this is a biology museum. So I love birds, and one of my electives was on an ornithology class, which is kind of how I got this internship. But like, it's a whole other skill set that I've had to learn. Like, I'm pretty good with scientific names now. I'm pretty good with anatomy. So I like broadening my horizons in that way of, it's just a whole other experience that I didn't expect to have. I did this part over the summer mainly. It was kind of 2 parts of like making a bunch of dead birds into skeletons and then taking those skeletons and putting them into the collection. So we'd print out a huge sticker sheet, and then you have these boxes with tags. And you put the sticker on the box, put the tag in the box, and write the catalog number and species name in Latin on the tag, and then put the skeleton and the tag in the box, and you get a whole shelf of boxes like this, and I think my thing's dying. The thing that he said, because I had to pay somebody to do this, was write the catalog number on this tag, write the Latin species name on that tag, put it in a sleeve like that, and then sticker the sleeve. So we did that for like 1,000 birds. It just took forever. This is the more like scientific aspect, I suppose. We mainly worked with Cleveland birds because the nonprofit was sending us a bunch of salvaged birds from Cleveland. So I went ahead and made a map of the main building. This down here is Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. It's a basketball arena. It's that right there, and it's just straight up glass. And birds hit that like nobody's business. We had 101 birds of the total of like 880 something, I think, that we worked on, died from hitting that building, or at least were found right outside that building. Yeah, that's an issue in my opinion. This one up here, 50, that's Key Tower, which is that skyscraper right there. Birds also really like to hit that skyscraper. And not on this map because it's in Ann Arbor is the Biological Sciences building right there, which is across campus kind of by Markley. This was our third most, 43 birds hit that building. That was our third most deadly building in the data set. If you go over there right now, you might find a dead bird.
We do pick them up, for the record.
Yeah.
We do clean them.
Yeah. So one thing that's really important in my opinion about the work that I was doing is the public outreach of salvage collections. In Chicago, I believe it was 2-3 years ago, 2023 I want to say, 1,000 birds in one night hit this building right here, McCormick Plaza. It's a convention center, but it's really similar to Rocket Mortgage, just a whole plane of glass wall. Another big thing I believe is like when the glass makes a corner here, you can see just straight down a hallway from outside to outside. And if you're a bird, you don't know what windows are. Like you're just gonna hit it. You're like, oh, I can fly through there, hit it at full speed and die. Scientists at the Field Museum in their salvage collection doing the same thing that I was doing, laid out 1,000 birds on their prep table and took a picture of it. And that's what the impact of these buildings looks like. Seeing that many, like, it's a lot more impactful than reading a scientific paper about it, in my opinion. So it seems there has been some public change. McCormick Plaza, this building, installed like a dot pattern, which is supposed to break up reflections. It's not necessarily clear how effective that is compared to other things, but it's certainly better than nothing. And also with the lights out, lighting regimens on some high impact buildings like this have changed. They'll turn their lights off at specific times. So birds are attracted to light because they're migrate at night. So they come to the buildings where there's lights, come to the cities, and then they hit buildings and die. So turning lights off is the number one thing. Installing dot patterns or using certain things on the glass. I know in the library, I saw a handout the other day for, I believe, the Biological Science building of, we need to install something on this so birds stop hitting them. So, fingers crossed, things are going to change and less than 1,000 birds will die in a night. Here's some statistics. It's just 884 total birds that I worked on. There's just over 14,000 in the collection. I thought it was kind of crazy. A little over 12% of the birds that I worked on were killed specifically by Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, Rocket Arena. That's kind of crazy to me. It's depressing, but anyways. And a fun fact, I helped curate a little over 6% of the total skeletons and spreadwings in the collection. I feel like that's not insignificant. I'm proud of that. And some internship takeaways. I really like museums. I don't necessarily think I care what type of museum I work in. I just want to work in a museum. I like them. My knowledge is broadened. I know a lot more about biology now. When I'm curious, I get opportunities. I just ask my mentor questions. I got to see extinct birds that we have because I was like, can I see the extinct birds when I'm done with my internship? You just can see cool stuff and do cool things when you ask questions. There's still a lot of work needed, though, to save birds. We're in the middle of a mass extinction event, human-caused. Dot patterns and turning lights off is really the least we can do, but it is something. So I think that's everything.
Amanda while we switch?
Is there any story behind the skeleton and this bird?
Oh, the bird actually has a cool skeleton. Cool story, sorry. I didn't take a picture of it, but on the label, it says it was donated by, like, P.T. Barnum, or, like, it was in P.T. Barnum's museum. And then, like, a friend of his, like, sent it over here after he died or something, which I thought was, like, really weird, but kind of cool. The cassowary mount is what that was for. The ostrich
Was it a cassowary?
it was a southern cassowary mount, yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, the ostrich is just a big articulated skeleton, but I helped switch those spots. One was getting faded by light and one was like in a cabinet, and he was like, we need to move the one getting faded to the cabinet and move the other one out, so that was one of my projects.
Interesting.
Thank you, Brenda. Bella. Hey.
Okay, so my name is Bella, and today I'm going to be talking about two experiences I've had directly working with science education in two museums I've worked at, the Curious Kids Museum and then the Natural History Museum here on campus. I am a junior studying anthropology and minoring in museum studies and the environment, so these positions have given me a really great way to experience the intersect between my disciplinary areas of interest. So first I want to start off by giving a brief background into the Curious Kids Museum. It is in my hometown of St. Joseph, Michigan, so that is why I decided to work there. I basically just cold emailed the director and was like, hey, I'm a museum studies student at U of M. Do you have any work I can do? And so it ended up working out really well. Yeah, so the first building, which is this one here on the left, opened in 1989, and it is, their mission statement hasn't changed much since then. It's a pretty simple mission statement where they say, the Curious Kids Museum inspires children to explore and learn through cooperative hands-on play, and this hands-on play is directed mainly towards a younger age group, the 1 through 10 age range. They had a second location, which is the Discovery Zone, open in 2010. You can see the really cool roof garden they have there. And then there should be a third location opening up in 2027. Fingers crossed that works out. So yeah, so basically, yes, with my cold email, I was like, let me do anything for you. I need to fulfill this for a class, and I love your museum, so I'd love to help out. And the director got back to me and was like, yeah, we do have something for you to do. I have been meaning to start some kit development using NGSS standards, which are next generation science standards, and create kits that can be used both in the museum in classroom spaces and be sent out into the community as a form of outreach. So these NGSS standards are K-12 science content standards that are developed at the state level, and states working together. It's not a federally run project. And then they have 3 dimensions to science learning that they really hone in on in all of their standard development. So they have cross-cutting concepts, and so these are things like pattern recognition, cause and effect, that kind of stuff, things that kids should be able to take away from science-based curriculum work and activities. And then science engineering practice, and then lastly disciplinary core ideas, which I will get into those a little bit more later because they guided a lot of my process when I developed these kits. So this is just the homepage that I did a ton of research on. I think the first third of my internship was just hanging out on this website and reading a bunch of stuff all about the standards, and finding standards I think would be cool to base the kits off of. So yeah, I spent a lot of time here. It's kind of giving me flashbacks seeing it on the big screen. So with the research I did there, I just kind of compiled a brainstorming list. This was the very first one, very rough draft, but I noted all the NGSS main components. I wrote a description for the activity, and then any ideas that came to me throughout this process, I just would jot them down in my brainstorming category. So they were very, very rough to start, but then it was a nice starting ground to jump off into more detailed design for the activities I wanted to create. And then I have the disciplinary core ideas highlighted, so these ones are all physical science, because I decided to base my work on the different disciplinary core ideas and make sure I had an equal amount of each one, so they have physical science, life science, and earth science. So I wanted to make sure I was giving the museum a variety of different activities so that a lot of kids could find something that they like. And so here I just kind of have some of the brief summaries of the different activities I created. So we have the life science ones here. I'm going to talk more about possum inventions in just a sec.
Earth science, I really like the second one about fighting erosion. It's pretty pertinent to the area I'm from because there is a ton of erosion issues being on the lakeshore of Lake Michigan. And so I think it's cool for kids to be able to come up with solutions to a problem that like actively affects people in our community. And then, yeah, some physical science ones. Yeah, and then I wanted to talk about one in a little bit more detail. So this is Possum Inventions. I kind of had a bit of a pun phase going on when I was making the titles over the summer. And so the description for this activity is students should be able to use materials to design a solution to a human problem by mimicking how plants and or animals use their external parts to help them survive, grow, and meet their needs. And so when reading the standard, my mind immediately went to like animal feet and paws and how there's so much variety in those that make animals well suited for their environment. And so these are just some of the pictures I pulled together when looking at inspiration for this design. And so here are some of the key components. I made these for every single kit I created. And so I made sure to define a student challenge. So this one I wanted kids to be able to create their own type of footwear that would help humans walk, grip, or move better by mimicking the feet or paws of an animal that has special adaptations for their environment. And then I made sure to note the learning outcomes I wanted to be the main takeaways. And then I made sure the NGSS connections were really clear. Yeah, and then I also made sure to create a tentative materials list. I didn't actually get to be involved in like the physical creation of any of these, which is kind of a bummer, but I'm hoping like if I'm home for breaks and stuff like that, I can be a little bit involved with that process. And then I made sure to note the activity timeline. It's a lot more detailed in the document I kept for this kit, but I just wanted to make sure that there is a clear time frame for everything. And then I also worked to make some supplemental take-home material ideas. These were not very detailed, but just some basic ideas that could engage further learning with that standard. And then this was not involving the work I did, but I expressed my interest in exhibit design to my supervisor, and so she took me through a bunch of their documents. She printed me off so many things. It's amazing. So they work with a consulting firm called Kidzibits, and so these right here are ones that they developed for an existing exhibit that they put in fairly recently in their current building, and so it looks like at the graphics they used and just the measurements that were required to put that space together. And then over here on this side, those are some of the concept designs for the new museum space. So it was really cool to get to see what those were going to look like. Yeah, and then I just wanted to note how this was a very full circle experience for me. This was a museum I grew up going to. Over there is a picture of me and my mom at the carousel at the Discovery Zone when I was little, and these are some of my favorite exhibits. This one here is actually, it's not the same as it was. They actually had a local contractor, the Bubble Machine, make another one that is wheelchair accessible, so it's cool to see that they have some of the same things that I grew up with, but they are adapted to become more accessible. And then another aspect of this full circle experience is their new building, which is another museum I actually worked at and then sold their space to the Curious Kids Museum. So just added to that that layer of like personal connection I had to this experience. And then I'm going to go really quickly over my time as a docent at the Natural History Museum. I started working there in the fall, and it has been a lot different from what this work I was doing over the summer because it's a lot more public interaction, which is another aspect of museum work that I've really learned to love. So here are some of the roles I have at the museum. So when we first got trained, most of the new docents got to work at the host desks, which is really cool because you just get to look at the mastodons and answer a bunch of questions for people. The HODS carts, which are, I'm sure many of you have been to the Natural History Museum, are the hands-on discovery stations. And so those are a lot of fun because you get to have like small group interactions with visitors, and they get to interact with materials hands-on. Michigan Mammals is my favorite because it's a bunch of pelts, and kids just love to pet the furs, so it's a lot of fun to talk to them about that. There's some group hosting where school groups come in and we have to take them from place to place. My most recent role is some data collection that we have to do for NSF-funded exhibits. So basically I just have to ask people to look at a display and then give them a survey. So that's pretty cool to be involved in that process. And last but not least, I applied for the summer camp there, and I will be working there this summer, so I'm very excited to be doing that. And with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bella. Great. Any quick questions for Bella?
Just love your entire experience.
Thank you.
So I do have a question about the NGSS stuff,
Yeah.
because I'm not terribly, I've heard of it, but I'm not like terribly familiar with like how the parameters work. So you had to like specifically show how it applied to, when making the kits, you had to show specifically how like each facet kind of like fits into this categorization, and then does that like create like an accredited kit, or is it like?
There's not really an accreditation process. I think it was more so just to kind of have a curriculum attached, so that they could say like this is sponsored by. It's not actually sponsored, but like to have kind of that basis for backing. Yeah.
So more like a foundation, but not an accreditation where
Yeah.
they're like, this is related, but we're not like actively fully vetting it.
Yeah, like we didn't really, like I never communicated or talked to anybody involved with NGSS like directly. It was all kind of just like using what they have and creating things for the museum itself.
It's a resource and a structure.
Thank you.
Bella. Please get more pizza. Sarah's going to share her internship experience. I also want to mention for those that need to run out for classes, if you're a museum studies minor student and you don't already have your t-shirt, you can stop in at the art history office and get your t-shirt. If they don't have the right sizes there, just let me know, we'll get it to you. Okay? All right, Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and I'll be presenting on my internship at the Detroit Institute of Arts. So I am a senior studying history and art history with a minor in museum studies. And throughout my time here, I've had a lot of different internships or jobs across campus. I work at the UMA with Ashley right now in the African art department. So I won't be presenting on anything but the DIA, but I'm happy to answer questions at the end about any of these. So last summer, I was a curatorial intern in the Department of African, Oceanic, and Indigenous America Arts, but I focused on African arts there. And this is like, my boss came out one day and he's like, do you want to go through the slides I have? And I'm like, yeah, like that sounds great. I was thinking it's a presentation. No, it's like pictures from all his research like in Africa, and I had no idea what it was, but I thought it was fun, and it was really cool to like see them with the light. But yeah, just a little snippet. I had no idea what he was talking about, but I was like, sure, let's do that. So I worked on an upcoming African art exhibition that's planned for like 5 to 7 years in the future. So not really anything concrete that came like out of my internship that I can present on now. It'll be very much in the future. But I assisted with the early exhibition planning. And so that was researching like it was a very basic list of all the objects that he was interested in including. And so research on the objects, the artists, the locations of the objects. So some of them would be in private collections and they had transferred hands since like he had gotten the picture. And so understanding kind of if they would even be willing to think about like loaning them to us for the exhibition, and if not, finding other objects that would tell the same story and idea. That'd be like in a museum in the US that would be easier and cheaper to get a loan from. I created and kind of continued to like change an exhibition presentation and checklist for the approval process. So when I first got there, the exhibition wasn't approved yet, and so it was a lot of having the right amount of research that you could present that to people and they would understand generally like what the ideal was, but still knowing that it's going to change a lot in the next like 5 years. And then I collaborated, so there's one curator, and so he and I were working really closely on this list and the artists and kind of thinking through like the themes we were using and everything like that to make sure the exhibition would make sense and everything. So one of the biggest challenges was having this long time frame that I wouldn't be a part of forever, and so knowing I had 12 weeks to be involved in a 5 to 7 year project, and so like identifying the productive tasks I could do within those 12 weeks that would help the exhibition like move along. And then like obviously there's like curators are very busy, and so balancing that time of having independent work and understanding that there were also times where you have to like talk to someone and kind of learn more about the museum and the process. And then not having a concrete project list and like task list or specific list of goals I was working towards was challenging at times, because there would be times I'd finish a task and not necessarily know what to do next, because it was such a long project that it's not as easy to like do a little nitpicky thing because it's not down to like the nitty-gritty yet. But there was obviously a lot of opportunities getting to work at the DIA, so getting hands-on experience with museum collections and curatorial research. A lot of the museums I had worked at before were smaller, and so like the DIA have its very extensive collection, and it's was really interesting seeing like the museum structure that we talked a lot about in museum studies classes like play out in a larger museum. And then understanding like the very beginning stages of an exhibition. I think a lot of times we think about like towards the end of you're creating the labels and you're thinking about the design and everything, but there's so much more before that that I hadn't really fully like experienced myself. And then just getting to talk to people and museum professionals and like build those connections at the DIA and with other interns. There's a few times where we would have like intern events and we would go down to like the studio and make art and stuff. So it was really fun to see like how all the aspects of the museums like come together and how we're able to interact with them, but also have like our individual internships. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions?
So I'll start. I think it's so interesting that you were working on something that is like still feels so far away.
Yeah.
Were there any sort of ways that like mentors and advisors sort of shepherded you through the fact that you were there for such a short amount of time, but still contributing actively to the work they were doing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was like the organizational structure. So we were thinking about how to like plan things long term. So creating like the folders and the like exhibit checklist that would kind of steer the rest of like many years to come. And so towards the end I was really just thinking about like how can I make this so like someone else could just pick this up right now and like understand what we were doing. And so it was a lot of like SharePoint folders and kind of thinking of like next steps people could take. And so like I don't know where it is right now, and so I think that's kind of like the fun thing is in the future, like being able to see it and kind of understand how it started and then how people like were able to continue that work.
Awesome.
How like independently did you work versus like more in a group or like with other people on, I guess on like more daily?
I was pretty much always working independently. I would have a meeting once a week with my supervisor, but other than that, like there's 3 curators in the department, but they're all focused on like Indigenous arts, African arts and stuff. And so it was not like a super collaboratory, like every day we're kind of working together to do stuff. But there was definitely like, we would have meetings and kind of talk about the steps, but then it was kind of on me to do that.
Amara, quickly, because then we want to get on.
Actually, like after this, like, are you still around? Then I can ask her like after the event, maybe.
Sure. If Sarah's up for it. All right. So last but not least, Ben will share his thoughts on his internship. Also, there is more pizza, you guys.
So some of this might look familiar.
And that's fine. I actually think it's fantastic that we have 2 students who've been working at the UMMZ, or if I would say Z.
Yeah, so Brendan and I work at the same place. I am still currently working there though, and so we'll be presenting on a little bit more of the updated data and comparison and the importance of doing stuff over and over again. So I'm Ben Thaler. I'm a senior majoring in ecology, evolution, and biodiversity. And so when I picked up the museum studies minor and saw I had to work somewhere, I knew I wanted to work. This was exactly where I knew I was instantly like, let me figure out working there before making sure I balance all the other plans and stuff. So this was a very easy way to fit into my interests. And so, as mentioned, it's at the RMC, which is 3 miles south of here. I don't really know what the name of my role is. I kind of come in. I don't get paid. Brendan does, or did. But yeah, so I just come in every Friday and there all day and help out with a couple things you'll see. And so my supervisor, I think the mentor that Brendan kept mentioning, is Brett Benz, who's the collections manager who's always in there. And then starting this year, Matt is the curatorial assistant, but he's also in there both doing the same things that we're doing and also helping a little more with the facilitative stuff. So I'll breeze right through this. The UMMZ is not public facing, unlike all these other museums. It's like a curated research collection where there's 15 million animal specimens in all those cabinets and stuff between birds, reptiles, mammals, insects, fish, and it's in the same building as the herbarium and paleontology and anthropological archaeology. It's just a huge, gigantic building in the middle of nowhere with millions of super rare specimens.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and so for birds specifically, the bird division has specimens from almost all living families of birds. As you can see, hundreds of thousands of skins and skeletons and different types of samples that we get from each. And although the actual building is private, you can access all the data on this thing called Specify, which is basically just the online database. It's on the UMMZ website, and you can, as you can see, there's now 214,272 different bird specimens in the whole thing, and you can search by anything, by family, by location, by date. I think the oldest one in there is from 1805. It's incredible how well it keeps track. And this data all comes from the tags and the books that are written down, the cataloging and the stickers and all that. So I do much more of the preparation than actual cataloging and storage. I mainly go in, and in the morning I might work on some inspecting the shelves or looking for certain things. We just had an email from the curator the other week where he was going through the collections and saw there were a couple of things that seemed off about a date or check this wing or something like that. And so it was almost like a scavenger hunt. We had it, and it was like, okay, 246983, let's look that up. What is that? Oh, okay, that's this type of hawk. Let's go and move all the giant shelves and find out to make sure that's from the right date and wasn't an error. And so that was really cool. But then, yes, the majority of what I do is preparing the specimens, which was the process that Brendan described of you get a dead bird and you gotta take a wing off, and then you gotta take the feathers off and the organs out and take all the data on that, and then tie it up and give it to the bugs, and then that's other people's jobs. I don't do that. I haven't gotten any back from the bugs yet, and I'm not gonna do the osteoscribing because one of the people who's volunteering this semester is really good at that or really interested in doing that, so I'm leaving it to her. So I'll start with challenges, is that you can't mess up on these. It's both in physically handling it. These are birds. Some of them are tiny songbirds that weigh 9 grams that if you pull the feather too hard, you snap the arm in half, and then, okay, you still got to do it, but it's kind of useful. Sometimes we'll get birds that hit a building too hard or were stepped on or whatever, and just got to throw them away or just put them in like the discard pile and we can't do anything with this, like it'll be useful in the collection. And you also have to be super precise in collecting all the data. If you saw from the sheet that Brendan had up of how many different things there were on there, you have to collect like the color parts for all the different skin parts and like the weight of the organs and the ossification of the skull by a percentage, and like there's just so many things that you just have to like make sure as you go through the process you do everything. And oh, you forgot to weigh the bird, but you just took all the feathers off and stuff. Like, too bad you can't get an accurate weight now. Like, you kind of messed that one up. And yeah, I've done probably I think 24 now in however many long I've been there, and there's still parts that I have no idea how to identify. Like, you have to look at certain internal organs and measure them to millimeters, and like, Matt, can you just come look at this and tell me like that? And yes, as mentioned, location data is not always provided, so sometimes we just have to write it in and wait until we get location data. And so we right now, with CLO, we're partnering with again. We're doing the 2024 ones now because they send huge bags and bags of stuff. They have not sent the location data this year. Last year, even though people had abbreviations and weird descriptions and stuff, the actual organization sent a big packet that we could cross-reference with all like the catalog numbers to be like, okay, oh, that's what they meant by that, that's what whatever. We have not gotten that this year. We've asked a lot of times. There's some drama with CLO that I don't know how long we'll still be with them if they don't send us the location data, but so it makes it really hard for this year to put locations because like unless it's like Rocket Arena or one of the big buildings that, okay, you know this is probably what they mean. Like, if you can't read it or it's left blank or whatever, we have no idea if we're going to get that data and no idea if we can use that specimen in location data for future research and stuff. But yeah, this is one of our fridges of specimens to be prepared. Towards the start of this semester, we had huge garbage bags just full of like hundreds of birds that we put all out on the table and sorted them into like type of bird and threw out the discarded ones and whatever. And so this is what like our actual big collection shelves are. These ones aren't from Cleveland, but these were the birds that were most common across the 2024 Cleveland ones. We got, I think, 278 white-throated sparrows were sent to us, and as you can see, we have shelves and shelves of white-throated sparrows, and so we try to, like, for this semester, we have a goal of we'll try to do 500 specimens, like, as a group with all the other volunteers and stuff, but, like, we don't need to do more than 15 of one type of bird before, like, they're all done or something. But even though we have a lot of these species, hundreds, thousands of some birds probably, it is important that we collect the data on every single one because, like I said, between 2023 and 2024, there's hundreds of birds, thousands of birds in each of those, even though they're from the same city, from the same organization, the same buildings for the most part, and same type of birds for the most part. Like, you have to have it all to see the trends in the data. This is a research museum. This is a research museum. This is used by people who want to check out tissue samples, who want to check out skeletons, who want to request certain specimens for experiments and this, and just collecting all the data. And so consistent data over time, not just 2 random data points, not just we took one from 10 years ago and now to look at it, like literally having, okay, we have 278 white-throated sparrows, and here's where the 278 died this year, here's where the 232 died last year, and here's this, and the year before and the year after that, and you can get a lot of different things between trends of migration and how many birds are actually flying through and if they're bigger now or anything like that. And so just one of the last things is, again, just emphasizing the importance of these collections and having so much. These are 2 studies that were designed and performed by Ben Winger, who's a curator of birds, who's at the museum a bunch, doing his work, and Brian Weeks, who's also like Ben Winter's longtime lab partner, I think, and museum associate. And so the top one, they used 70,000. This was mainly based more in Chicago, but used some Cleveland stuff. Used 70,000 specimens across 4 decades to like reveal new things about reductions in body size and wing length in the summer. And at the time, which was at 2020, this was like the best demonstration of bird body size. And even though it was all birds from the same area, and there were a lot of different bird species in there, but they were looking at thousands of the same bird species. Like, again, just the importance of now you can see the trends, and they've been to like the millimeter level, like shrinking a tiny bit. And same with this one, is about like nocturnal behavior. This one is more relevant to here and to the whole saving the birds message that Brendan was talking about. This one focused a lot more on the Cleveland birds and got the same attention from people in Chicago, but as demonstrated, the actual thing that inspired action in Chicago was just those scientists putting 1,000 birds on the table. But this was one of the things that kind of got a lot of attention before that, and scientifically started like some action, not actually through the architects or whatever. But Ben is also currently working on stuff in Ann Arbor about bird collisions, not so much a research project and more so just talking to like the architects of Hatcher Library and the BSB. He said, from his own words, collecting data to inspire action and reduce collisions. They, I think, recently like put dots and stuff up on the Hatcher catwalk that we just have to wait and see what happens, collecting more data, and I do know that the BSB is his next goal. And so I'll finish this off with the opportunities and what this I've given to me. I've learned way more about birds than I even thought I could coming into this. Like, I had an interest in ornithology. It's what I'm specializing in, basically, but I've learned way more scientific names. I've learned so much about anatomy and familial relationships and how you can see those inside, and obviously the whole skeletonizing process. And then, this provides me with an incredible experience to like build off of, because I want to either work in a museum or a zoo or something, and directly correlates. And then, my work contributes to the good of science. This is the second largest university collection of birds in the world, and one of the largest in general in North America. So people can, like, you need like a grant proposal or whatever you're doing to like take out the samples and stuff, but these can all and still are all used for research. And so it's awesome to know that when I'm doing a specimen, that at some point will actually go into the collection and be tagged and can be used in the future. And it's super fun, super interesting. So.
Thank you so much, Ben. Any questions for Ben?
Sorry to be always asking questions.
No, that's great.
So about all the birds that you kind of showed, the like yellow, the yellow-throat and the white-throated sparrow and stuff. So when they're in those like shelves, are those like refrigerated shelves, or are these like?
No, so these are in like gigantic, almost like warehouse-sized rooms with just tons of rows of shelves that I assume it's temperature controlled, but it's just dry, like they're in the shelves. These are these are all stuffed with cotton. But some of these are this is the collections that go back to 1805. Like some of these, you'll like look at the tags and this section here was all from a trip in Texas in 1921 when they collected those. And as you saw, they have, I think, every order and almost every family of bird in this whole thing. I just got back from Ecuador from spring break, and so I was talking to Brett, and he was there. You want to see some of the birds that you just saw, like in the collections, and so you go and move the gigantic, like huge, I don't even know how tall they are, 20, 30-foot shelves, and like turn the wheel to like move them all over, and then okay, this is the like birds of prey over here. This is the parrot, whatever. Let me go look and pull those out. And similar to this, some are bigger, some are whatever, but yeah, just a very, very, very white, very, very dry room.
That's good. So did you learn some of those techniques for like trying to keep them? Because I know you talked about like
Yes.
obviously skinning and pinning the wings and stuff and doing that preparation, but like for keeping them.
Yes, I have a couple of times just gone in to like quality inspect certain of the shelves, which they're very well maintained in here, but it's making sure that all the tags are the right way, all the birds are like straight next to each other, and the most important thing is that there's no bug residue, like insect residue or anything like that, because if you see even the tiniest speck of that, like you gotta let someone know and make sure that you're not gonna pull out another shelf and the bug just ate the whole thing. Like, because yes, as mentioned, we work with flesh-eating beetles, and so if those get out, that becomes a problem.
I would assume so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you to all of our presenters today, and for those of you who came to sort of hear and support your colleagues in museum studies. One of my favorite things is just seeing the variety of projects that people have worked on and institutions, and also to just have the opportunity of hearing your voice, some of the things that you've been up to. So thank you so much. That concludes our colloquium for Winter 26. There is still more pizza, so if you want to take a piece to go, grab a couple plates, and please don't leave me with so many boxes of pizza. If you need a t-shirt, just check in with Christy Elkins in the art history office. If they don't have the right size, just let me know and we'll get it to you eventually, okay? All right, and we're a little early because we had the 2 students who were not able to present due to illness. But that means you have time to catch your breath before you launch into whatever remains for your day. So take care and thank you.
Yeah, I was just curious because, like, obviously, it's kind of logistically a bit of it's a bit of a marvel seeing how many.
I'm glad you could come.
No, it gave me a lot of
Yeah.
it's good ideas or what I could.
It's like so little that I'm like, I want to give it an illness.
I know. And
But like,
if you go back on our website, we do archive most of them, not every, but we save a recording of the presentations. So you can even go back and see, you know, what other students have done, because every semester it's different.
I was like, I don't know what the rules are, but I was like, I'm sure college kids are not. I'm like, you have a very tiny baby. Let's do it.
yeah, and then they're all just stacked up.
But I also want to
Yeah, and look, we've definitely had people work with Jim Moss and Andrea Glazer out at
Sounds really
Law before, so
I don't do good at
look at
it's
those
fun liminal spaces.
Yeah.
Mr. Colloquia, and if you have
There's like
questions,
one
we
bright
can
ladder
chat
that
about
keeps the color down.
I spent the day like up on a ladder opening shelves, like putting boxes on the shelves, putting back in. And like at the end of the day I was like, I'm gonna go insane.
Yeah, because I get lost in like even in like small like basement, I actually get lost sometimes just because my brain can't like register some of the like liminal and subliminal spaces because it just all looks the same. So I know
I get
would
lost in the
lost.
MLB constantly.
I really wanted to ask you
Every
if
time
you
I go
can tell me a little bit more about how the process look
That's
like
really interesting.
when something is like
Yeah.
5-6 years away.
I've
Because I
never
feel
really
like
handled
I
much
really
in a
could, like,
biological manner, so it's like
It
it
would really
definitely
benefit
seems
to
like
have a little bit
it's
of
a
an
lot more
idea
of an
because I
involved
feel like
process
that's what happened
with
with
birds.
You have to
too, that there was
like,
just like
know
no
what
structure. So
Yeah. I think
Also about the like, about the
for us a lot of it like
so when
obviously different
you guys are like
museums, but
storing
just before I got there, my boss had kind of created a list of like all the objects. And he had like a theme and everything that he thought like how he would break it up into sections. And then
Was there like yearly goal that by year 1 we want to accomplish this, by year 2?
So not really, because I think like it's just him in the department, and so I think like a lot of it is like when he does have an intern or anything, like it's all him. So I think it's less like collaborating with the team to understand like
kind of depressing after a
like
while.
obviously there's project managers.
I know, like, I love birds,
like
like,
the
because they
research
look
at the
pretty,
beginning,
and
it's
it's
just
like,
him,
oh, I
and
just have one of the
so
skeletons, and then I go outside
I
and see
think
a
it was
bird,
just
like,
like
oh, yeah.
a list
That's
of all
cool,
the
it's like
objects
put
that he
together,
thought,
like,
Yeah,
like
I'm
information on them, like where
Yeah.
they would be located,
like,
and then there was a presentation about
Constructed.
how the objects would be kind of not displayed together, but like what theme they would go to, and then excuse me,
I gotta see the extinct.
that was used for a presentation to like the director and the project team.
That's
All of that would be involved with the project because it technically wasn't approved when I got there, and so then they give their thoughts on that of like this is too broad or like you need to focus on this, and so after that it was a lot more like it was smaller, but I think because it's so
Carlson, you need one.
even have like
Still haven't
a
grabbed one.
Brendan, do you have one?
if that makes sense, because it wasn't even a big
That makes me really hopeful. That makes me like feel like
I'm gonna
not
motion to
just
send
like
that out. I
draw
was just in a meeting this
parallel
morning.
with
Museum
my internship
studies
experiences. But
Semester.
like for the most time I was like, where is this going? And I feel
Graduated by the
like
time
these
you get
are
dark.
work we're doing. Sounds like a
I
lot
still
of
don't have a
like
major shirt. I don't have
categorization,
a shirt.
maybe
I
like 5
declared it
years
like
down the road,
online
like
during COVID times.
Oh no.
I don't
yeah.
No, it's,
I
I
need
to go
think
there and
this
deal
year
with
it's magenta.
Yeah. I
It's like
put
a lot
mine
of just
on.
kind of thinking about like what it could be instead of what it was.
Yes, that's so
And also,
DIA, I mean, of course. Is that your favorite medium?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I said it for so long, and I feel like I can't.
Do you know Calvin? I think he's like planning a tour to DIA like really soon.
Okay.
On March
I'm gonna send out a reminder, I know Christie sent out
26th,
information
I
about
think.
graduation, but I'm gonna
So-
send out a reminder to get.
like from, I think like
Studies
the,
fighters
you guys like
sign
just
up,
start from like UN
And I'll
and
add
just
in
like
their
everybody.
information.
Do you know
He's
him?
on your internship.
I do not.
Oh, okay. He was just right here with the
Oh,
camera.
okay. Nice.
That was
You're
a
good
mess
for
because
that,
the
but
government
the
was shut
court
down
is
for
new.
like about half the
Yeah, I gotta send that.
time. Yeah, time, and I need access to census. I need access to like census data,
This is live now.
which they shut down the U.S. Census. Did they really? Yeah, website for about half of that, so I had to go. I went to the Benton. Yeah, sure do. And I went to the Ann Arbor local library, and I was reading microfilm. And essentially, it was like
Less than an
126 hours
And
of
we-
reading microfilm.
There's a ceremony for it, which is not,
You know,
it's usually less than an hour.
I just emailed somebody about it. It depends on how many kids are there.
yeah, it was
It's usually like 20,
after
25 kids, so it does take like an hour.
about 80%.
Yeah,
But the
okay.
government comes back up and they're like,
It's about an
"Here you
hour.
go."
Yeah.
In my
Okay,
experience that
guys.
I've been doing it, it's never really more than an hour. And then there's a
Honestly,
reception
being-
afterwards where you can bring your
It's actually a skill.
It's really nice, it's in the
I've only
corridor.
done it 9 times. but
Yeah, you don't have to, it's encouraged.
So if you could only come briefly,
Yeah.
get a few nibblies,
Okay.
say hi to
Not
the
too
teacher
much,
too.
so I went there for a class.
Because I have I'm reading a history thesis.
yeah.
Honors that morning at 9
Minor,
I think.
Okay.
And so like I don't think I'll be able to make the rest.
Yeah, I was like, I was sitting there, I was like,
Oh my god. Like would kind of be.
Oh, yeah, no, they're way.
I guess we're gonna have to.
I don't know how you guys keep them
Yeah,
together.
so I had to come back like a week and a half later.
Oh my god, when it was like
I-
here or whatever.
Is the reception over by one?
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And probably 12:30.
It worked.
I mean, yeah.
You know, that's all that matters.
And there's, you just come get
Where
food, you
else
don't
can I
have
read
to
this
stay.
for census data
Yeah.
other than
That's
the
too bad. Yeah, the conflicts are
Yeah,
just
the
horrible.
internet's not a-
No, they're not gonna have a good time.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If anything changes though, I
No,
love,
for
I love
sure.
to see people at graduation.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
always
So dependent
anticlimactic for
We
me,
are.
and it's like,
I feel like I always especially think of like
But we will have a
online
bag.
or.
Yeah, we have a
But
little.
there will be a bag after, so
Permanent
when
or
you get
whatever,
that
but then
email,
it's
just email me and
I
we'll
mean, it
figure
does
something out.
Okay.
Because there's a little bag that we're ordering.
And then
for
they'll just like,
graduating
and then they'll
seniors.
be like, oh yeah,
Okay.
we had this, but we actually.
I'll
Just
try
has
to
our
see if
logo,
they-
you never know.
Yeah.
You might
I'm
not
like, okay,
have,
But it's a
whatever,
sturdy
we
one.
spent
It is.
$16
You get all the
billion
choices.
random thing, and they're like, oh, we
Better than the ones
saved
before.
$1,000.
I'll have a tote bag for that.
Do like the
I'll see if I can like
NSA
make it for when my
however many
presentation is like
millions
in
of
my
dollars
notebook
on servers.
cover.
Yeah.
Was that earlier, but I
Yeah,
have
well,
no
yeah,
idea what that's gonna be,
literally,
so
like,
we'll
they'll
just-
have
okay.
like they'll have like
Do your
any of the
best.
census
Yeah.
data,
Juggling
so
as
it's
always,
shackled
right?
super
Yeah.
from like
Thank you.
probably from
Yeah.
like 2001. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm here
Well,
for
we
the
don't
hug you promised.
Yeah, takes
You're
like
amazing.
30 to 60 seconds to load the whole thing, and I'm like,
Thank
okay, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh
That
my
sounds like
gosh,
US
I'm so
government.
stressed.
And then
But
And
now
now
you
I'm
have
more
all-
stressed.
Yeah,
Now I'm
NSA
like,
gets all the
Yeah, NSA gets all the money
for like in the next 5 years
That's
and more.
okay. Right now, though, you don't need to worry about that.
Yes, I do. I
You
do.
just
I
need,
really-
you can just
I
enjoy,
did learn that. I'm never gonna
you
do
can
that
just
again.
enjoy the moment.
I really like the program and the structure and everything. This was always my first institution to
Like,
go
it
to.
seems like a good idea.
But it's so funny, like we just had the event
Just allow
for
for someone
prospective
And
students.
then
Yeah.
And in that event, one prospective
opposite
student,
side.
I don't know, like he just
Yeah.
said that I am deciding between Michigan and
I feel
Berkeley.
like our infrastructure
And
is
the
like
professors all went
Oh, for sure.
off,
But of course
really
now
calling
Palantir
Berkeley
and,
out
like,
that,
Raytheon
Yeah.
oh, the
There's
environment
really
at
for-
Berkeley. I'm like, okay, this just got interesting. I am here for the tea. That they were like, that's a toxic environment, professor, don't let their student like do what they wanna do.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, okay, I did get an interview with Berkeley, and I just went home and accepted the offer letter. I mean, after hearing all that, I don't.
It's always
think I'm
funny like
going
how
to
much money
Berkeley.
it is to for the person giving it versus
So
how
yeah,
much it is
I'm
for the
going
person
here
getting it,
with the
right?
weather
Like,
and everything.
oh, we gotta cut this minuscule cost.
Well,
It's gonna
since
take
you'll
the
be
entire
here,
budget of this
We
museum.
can meet again. I
Yes.
wanna hear about all your plans.
I do plan to. I do plan to meet with you. It's just so much going on right now.
This was great to hear from you
Yes.
today and to lay eyes on you.
Because like because
Graduation.
they got cut out from the.
I'll see you, I hope.
Yes, yes,
That's
I
kind of
think
the
so. I
story
think
of, like,
it
a bunch of the
doesn't. I
small
have to
ones.
like.
It really is.
I haven't received the email.
ones that
I
don't
Okay,
think it
I'll make
just
sure
came
we
out.
get,
Base already.
well, we also need to make sure that,
Streams.
I'm gonna be sending out a reminder email about signing up. There's still time.
Like a small
Yes.
museum
And also about
Is
the
it
Arts
May?
Honor Court. It's May 1st.
Okay, if it's in May, then I
August
think
to,
I
like,
can make
November.
it.
Yeah,
We
it's
have
not that
That's a
graduation
ton of money for them.
ceremony on
Yeah,
March
but
29th
I
for
mean,
the honors.
Yeah.
Who does that? We are literally working on the
I don't know,
honors
what
thesis.
the
Give us a break.
Yeah,
We need the time.
I don't know why.
Another 10 billion to
It's so
balance.
crazy.
It's ill-advised.
Here's the audience of
We
you.
are really stressed about wrapping up our honors
Yeah,
thesis
no,
right
and
now.
then there.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a celebratory time.
No, exactly. No, well,
Because Peter Thiel
look for my
wants
email.
all-
Yes, I will.
It's not right now. You work on your thesis.
By
And
May
then-
I'll be
all of
free,
the
yes.
museum-based websites that are all publicly
Well,
facing
congratulations
saying,
again,
"We
and
don't
thank you
need
for
this."
today.
And then they're
I
going
wasn't
like,
sure.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one nice thing. It's like each one's a little
That's the thing
different.
with it's just like
Like,
the
this is
two-
what I wanna talk about.
Too much.
And I love how
Do whatever you
you
want
sort of
and
like
have all of that information.
opportunities, but also the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And
I think you were extremely
at that point,
diplomatic
you
in
control-
sharing
you
sort of like
control the
these are
information and
things that
research,
work
then
great.
you can just,
Yes.
whatever.
But also kind of
Yeah, the
explaining
birds aren't-
contextually
Yeah,
why
the
it
birds
was
aren't
like
crashing
that.
into
It was
windows.
great.
So
No, actually the
And recently we had a meeting with LSS and
It's
we
always so
kind of
goofy to me when
I
some,
kind of like,
Fox News watcher is like, the
um,
wind farms are killing the birds. I'm like,
proposed that
"Did
we
you let
should
your
reach out
cat
to
outside?"
faculty
Shut that.
and
Yeah.
give them our collection
You don't care about
and
the
see if
By
we
the-
can
yeah, by
use
the
it for
captain,
their
like,
course
it's like,
material.
no way,
So
no way.
we're going that route too, so I feel
no,
like
it is
we're going
goofy.
somewhere.
Alright, take
Take care. Thanks for speaking again.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for letting
Professor,
me,
I'll see you again.
give me space.
It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have to show up when I actually have the time to show up, right?
Oh, I know, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Take care.
That's the bag of
Just take care, Brenda. Thank you again. Have a good one. Yeah, stay not windy.
It's this. I know. Yesterday, like it looked like it was gonna be cold too, and then all of a sudden I was like, why is it sweating? I thought it was freezing. I went out with like so many layers because I hadn't been outside yet. Same. And then I was like sweating. And then it was so hot, and now it's like snowing. Like my mom's like, she's like, I don't know. Was your parents' weekend this weekend? Yeah, that's so fun. I'm so jealous. Like, it's like August cold and then 57. And also like 62. I'm like, today's high is not 66 degrees. It's like no, I tell me when it says 66, and then you click on it. It was 66 at midnight. Are you joking? It was 66 at midnight. From yesterday. Okay, that makes sense. What? No, because I woke up and I was like, I got dressed up in like leggings and sports bras, and I was like, I have jeans over this. Literally. I didn't bring like my actual puffer. I was like, oh, like this is an okay jacket for like kind of cold but not freezing.
That was all. Did your favorite
Good. Thank God. I was honestly shocked. I did not. Really? Yeah. Like, no. It was like, I got that. I turned on I said that like, vaping was like, I said that like, it was an extra naughty because like, it's supposed to be turning
like that.
people to like,
I feel like you owe you money for that one.
cigarettes.
Okay,
That actually
guys,
like
you
makes
managed to
teens
figure that out all by yourselves.
Yeah, that doesn't count because like, teens who vape are still consumers of like vapes.
They're still like
They're
in
not a
the,
third party.
yeah.
So for this one I said that.
Yeah, that's so patronizing.
An externality because it's like you're a GSI who are like driving other cars.
So GSI, not even a professor.
I feel like that was not gonna be approved either. Actually,
Mine I
thinking about
found
it.
some random one about like climate control and like market selling things that creates pollution. Like I literally like my mom actually found it for me because I
spent
put it
an
on
hour
the
like
anything and she like reads the like news every day and she like found one and was like really I think this would work and I was like
I didn't have to get my help explain.
When I think about it, I find
Do you really? Yeah.
Do you like this? Because like
Like, how do you explain to us
other people
how you
driving
like
are
who
consumers of
instructions?
email.
Yeah.
yeah. So they're
Like they hit.
I can see
like,
that.
Waymo hit like
You're the-
weeks ago.
I'm
She's
surprised
she's not a
you figured out
consumer
how to
of
help you
Waymo.
all do by yourself.
She's not a consumer of Waymo. Just start your essay off like that. Waymo hit a little girl. She was not a consumer. This is a negative effect to the third
My
party.
article was like an interview with the CEO, and she was like, "Yeah, it's
Are you
unfortunate
done
that
with your
the
circus
little girl got hit."
I
And
didn't
I
see what I have so
actually
far,
loved it. She stood up and
please.
walked away after.
I'm gonna take a
Oh my God. It's
It
unfortunate.
was okay. Like,
That's crazy. Wow.
and there was a video. There's a video in the article.
I have
Perpendicular across the street, and there was an ambulance trying to get past, and it just stopped. It was fully stopped.
Oh my God. They're literally like the scariest things happening. I don't think I could ever get in.
I would never.
Like, no. Call an Uber, call a friend.
that's not
Like,
bad.
no, I will not be getting in that.
Those were both
I
of them
saw a
together.
video where like one was
There's
like
such a big overlap.
there was one trying to like
Yeah.
get down the street and one was turning in.
Dude,
It was like kind of a narrow
environmental
street,
engineering.
and then it had room to go, but like I don't know why they like didn't realize.
I guess I'm
So it's
gonna-
like this one kept
what-
backing
what
up,
is that?
give this one room, go
It's
forward,
like-
go like that. And then
There's a lot
a
of
regular
stuff.
car drove
I
by
think
this
I
one,
want to
and then
water
one
systems
drove by this car. So it was locked in between
but
the three of them.
a lot of it is concrete.
So
a lot of it
I
is
would just get out of the car at that point.
Yeah. That's terrible.
There, it's
And like sue Waymo if they hit the car. That's insane.
there's a fun overlap. I might end up doing
Jesus.
like even with an architecture major, you do a lot of urban planning
Um,
and stuff. We'll see where
Yeah,
we end
wow,
up.
that is actually crazy.
Yeah.
It's scary. They freak me out.
So those are hard to get into, unfortunately. There's a civil environmental and engineering specific one. Oh, perfect. This is what I have so far.
That looks good.
Sir, I know exactly what surface that is. Yeah, because you saw me buy it. That's really good though. Yeah, these are all the layers. Wow. And then these are all like I measured everything. All of these like the gaps between each of them. A lot of work. And then I got it like the textures back here and then more of this. But yeah.
Good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about international trade. So, as you already saw in the lecture, international trade is basically the same concept that we saw at the beginning of the semester of comparative advantage. Remember that when someone has comparative advantage, that person should specialize in that good, and the other person should specialize on the other good, and then the best thing to do is to exchange the product. So it's the same here, the same idea. So instead of having people, we're going to have countries. So one country is going to specialize in the good that has comparative advantage, and the other country is going to do the same, and then they are going to exchange those goods. So that's why some countries are going to import some goods, and they are going to export another goods. So you will import the goods in which you don't have comparative advantage, and you will export the goods in which you have comparative advantage, because you can produce them at a lower cost. And so then, if the government, the same concept that we know now, it's if the government imposes a kind of government control, so then we will have a reduction in the total surplus. If the government doesn't intervene, so the total surplus is going to be maximized. Why the government wants to intervene sometimes? Well, the government has several reasons. One of the reasons is to protect local producers. Sometimes, especially when the local producers just starting running their businesses, the government will be interested in protecting them, just because at the beginning when someone starts a new business, we know that they don't have enough knowledge and enough comparative advantage to just compete to other people abroad that has been in the market for several years. So in this case, that's one reason why the government will want to intervene in the market. And another reason is, and I think another reason is, if you know that there is a country that has comparative advantage in a specific good, but if we predict that we will have some kind of conflict with this country in future, so we will, the government will want to just prevent of importing from that country, because the thing that happened with China, if there's going to be a kind of conflict at some point, so the government will just prefer to set a tariff or a quota. So it's a way to protect themselves from a future war trade. And that's it. So then, that being said, when we, in this topic of international trade, we are going to talk about domestic demand curve and domestic supply curve. It's exactly the same supply curve and demand curve that we have seen so far. The only thing is that now they're going to be called domestic. That's it. And now there's a new concept that is the world price. And one thing that is going to happen is, depending of that world price being over the autarky price or below the autarky price, that is going to determine if the country is going to import or to export. This is the scenario when we have autarky. So if we have autarky, it's the normal scenario that you are used to. So we have, in this case, in autarky, if we assume that there is not inefficiencies in this market or externalities, so the total surplus is maximized, and the total surplus are the sum of the consumer surplus, the green triangle, and the producer surplus, the pink triangle, and that's it. But once we have international trade, now there is a possibility to increase the total surplus. The thing with international trade is there are going to be winners and losers. So in the case of imports, the winners are going to be the consumers, because now they are able to get the same good at a lower price. And with the exports, the winners are going to be the producers, because now they are going to be able to export the good, to sell the good at a higher price than the autarky price. And that's it. So that means that, for example, we knew that with autarky, the total surplus was the big triangle, but now with international trade, we are going to have an increase of total surplus because now we are adding up this new triangle here. So the idea, the takeaway on this topic is international trade allows the country to increase the total surplus. And then in this case, it's the same. The total surplus is going to increase. The only thing that is different from the other scenario is here, the ones that are going to increase their total surplus are the producers. The consumers are going to reduce their consumer surplus, but in total, the total surplus is maximized and increased. Okay. Then the government can set some tariffs or quotas, as I said. If they set a tariff, the tariff is basically, we know that the world price is going to be the new price. But when a tariff is imposed, so then the final price will be the sum of the world price plus the tariff. So that is going to be the PT. The PT is like the final price. And now the consumers are going to pay this price, the producers are going to charge this price, that is going to be the new price. With that thing happening, the scenario will be the producers are going to increase their surplus because the tariffs, remember, that are imposed to benefit the producers to be able to sell the product at a higher price. And the only thing is, since we know that every time that the government imposes control, that is going to reduce the total surplus. So now with this scenario, we are not going to maximize the total surplus because we are going to have that we lost these two white triangles, and there is going to be a total revenue. That total revenue is part of the total surplus and goes to the government. And that's it. And then with the quota, it's the same. So instead of imposing a specific value to a specific tariff that is going to be added to the price, here what the government is going to say is, if the government knows that this is the amount of imports and they want to control that amount of imports, that they don't want that those imports will be that large. So in this case, the government would say, this is the maximum amount that is allowed to import. So that is going to be an import quota that is binding. That means if the import quota is greater than the imports, will be an import quota that is not binding. So in that case, nothing will happen to the market. So the market will stay as in the scenario with international trade. But in this case, we can say that the import quota is binding because it's less than the total imports. And then the analysis will be similar. We will have an increase in total price because initially the price was this one, big, but because of the import quota, now the price is going to increase to this point. And this is going to produce this rectangle that now is not tariff revenue, it's going to be the quota import rent. So this doesn't go to the government, this goes to the people who own this import quota permits. And these two triangles here are going to be the same, the debt well lost. And the same here, since the price increases, the ones that are going to have the benefits of that are going to be the producers. That's it. So one important thing to calculate quotas, because sometimes it's, I think, the trickiest part on this topic. If you need to calculate a quota, my recommendation all the time is, if you know that the quota is, 100, and you know that the imports right now are 150, so you just have to go back to the graph or to the demand and supply schedule. So if you are here and you know that these imports here are 150, for example, and then you know that the import quota is going to be 100, so what you have to do is you start from this point. You know that this is going to be 150, and you go up and you will see what is the gap here between quantity demanded and quantity supplied. If that gap here is greater than the import quota, so that's not the point. You have to go up. And then here, you will see the difference, and until you get to the point where the difference between quantity demanded and quantity supplied is exactly the amount of the quota, so that is going to be where you have to trace this line. And at that point, that is going to give you the new price, the new price with the quota, and that's it. Okay, so okay, now let's take half an hour.
But you're trying to make
I move and speak out loud and ask questions.
it's the gap between those numbers would be 125. It's like smaller until you get to it's the amount of the coin. Let's see if we can